You have a first-class seat to watch the Lori Boyle Show. It looks like everything is all set. So here she is, Lori Boyle. You're live, Lori.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lori Boyle Show. I have a great guest for you today. Not just a great guest, but a really handsome fireman we get to talk to. Who gets to talk to a fireman ever? Unless they're putting out a fire at your house. Otherwise, we don't get to talk to you on a regular basis, but we've got a real life hero who also wrote a book. Steve Kemp is his name. He's the author of Harry Dennison, a paranormal novel based on his own experience in the firefighting service. Steve is a military veteran and a captain of the Indianapolis Fire Department who knows how to connect with people on a professional level. He is captivating, brave, and compassionate. And in his 18-year career, he has saved thousands of lives. So, welcome. Welcome.
That's all over the top there.
An introduction?
A little too much.
Well, I'm glad you're with us today because we want to talk about your book. And we also, let me see if I can show the book. It's called Harry Dennison, and it's a paranormal. So what's different about it? What's the paranormal part, Steve?
The main character, Harry Dennison, is just having a friend that died in the line of duty sometime before, 20, 25 years before, talk to him and give him messages. But, you know, I didn't go with the direct, but I tried to keep it as vague as possible. I had a goal when I began the story. It kind of changed as I went along, but, you know, it kind of hit on like the tingling sensations you get at times, the intuition you have that something's going on, the little signals and signs that you think are nothing, but maybe are something more. So I wanted to avoid any direct, you know, too much over the top, but that's the paranormal aspect, is just someone from beyond communicating with.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So why did you write the book in the first place?
Well, this is, I think, my fourth book. I had a lot of firefighter stories built up, and the challenge of writing a firefighter story is, and you don't see a lot of them, is you got to create a story outside of the fire station. So this is what I came up with. It's a combination of different things that have happened to me in my career. Some of the characters that I wrote about are compilations of different people I've known and worked for that I looked up to and respected. So kind of, you know, the books I've written, it's like the story just kind of needs to be told and it becomes time to tell it, so I write it. Is the best way to explain it.
Great. You talk about firefighting being one of the last professions where you can really find out what you're made of. What do you mean by that?
It challenges you. You know, in my time on the job, I've had a lot of people I've known that have committed suicide. A lot of people have drug and alcohol problems. So it's tough to deal with at times. For most of us, we deal with it pretty good, I think. It's not like every one of us is really messed up, but it's a challenging job because physically you could be tested on a fire. I've been in numerous situations where I thought that I could be injured or worse. They don't come along very often, but and when you look back, you think maybe I wasn't in that bad of a situation, but you know, it's one of the few places you can do that still. And that's what guys really like. I mean, some people call it an adrenaline junkie, or you still get an adrenaline rush. And there's an aspect of that too. After a while, you try to avoid that because getting your adrenaline up and reacting real quick and getting excited doesn't really help a whole lot when you're trying to calm a situation down. So,
So you kind of have to take stock of what's happening around you for a sec and then calmly approach the problem. And that probably comes with experience.
Yeah, the more times you experience stuff, the more times you do it, repetition becomes normal. But the fun part about our job is no situation is the same. You can take a similar experience, no matter how much you train on it and study it, it's still going to be different the next time out. So I hate to put something into one box and say, I'm going to use this one box. You almost have to be ready to use a new technique every time possibly, but it's really more of a variation on something you've already done. Mm-hmm. Not so much new, but okay, I've done this before and I need to go this way, and that'll help us get through this situation. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're also spent some time in the military?
I did 8 years with the Seabees, yeah.
Okay, and what is that?
Seabees, a construction battalion. It was formed in the 1941, I believe, 42, actually 42. The Seabees themselves build bases, airstrips. They're famous in World War II for building airstrips in Iwo Jima and a lot of the Pacific Theater bases so that the aircraft could take off and bomb Japan. But throughout the world, they've built different bases and helped construct things. More on the humanitarian side, they've helped after numerous hurricanes throughout the country, and they help in overseas as well in similar situations. So.
Mm-hmm. How did your military career shape you as a fireman or get you into being a fireman and make you have that choice?
Military is kind of the opposite end of the fire department. We call ourselves paramilitary. But the one thing I learned from the military is that they have a desire to always be managing you and they always try to find something for you to do, because one of the big challenges the military has is there's a lot of downtime. I know we had these recent wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, so that pushed into their limits. But the 8 years I was in, sorry, got a phone call there. The 8 years, sorry, caught me at work. The 8 years I was in, we didn't have any real activity. So just the fire department does a better job of, if we're downtime, we're downtime. We do training, we learn, we always take classes, but when it's downtime, we try to enjoy ourselves a little more, which the military struggles with at times. So.
Tell us about some of the female characters in your book. Were they based on people you know?
You know, they started out that way, and I made them one way, but by the time I was done, I had to flesh them out a lot more. It actually was a challenge for me to make them likable, because I kind of had them. I had one thing in mind, and then I realized they needed to be a little bit more to make them worth reading about, really. Because of course, Harry's wife is a very nice woman. He's married to her, so he supports her a lot. But the character of Lori I had someone in mind. And by the end of it, I had to change it up because I didn't really like her, and it's no fun writing about somebody you don't like. So, and which is funny though, is since I wrote that character, I hate to say this out loud, but the person has kind of become more like the character. So, you know how it is. Sometimes you interact with somebody a couple times, you get a bad impression, and when you learn more about them, you get to like them. So, it's rather ironic though with this one.
That's true. And you have to like your characters, right? Because you spend a lot of time with them and thinking about them. So you have to like them, don't you?
Well, it's a challenge as you come up with 2 or 3 characters that you really want to write about, but they have to talk to somebody. And so if you make a person you don't like, God, I hate having to deal with this, because you know how it is when you're around somebody just makes your life miserable. It's no fun. So, yeah, but it is a challenge, you know, when people write about sociopaths, psychopaths, just killers. I'm fascinated that they're able to dive into that hole, because it's a deep hole to go into, because you really do have to kind of absorb it a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard other writers say they have to live with their characters a little bit to get it right.
Yeah, and I can see it. I've heard actors have issues, you know, becoming that character and really diving into it. So it is a challenge. I try to keep them on the light side, but every once in a while, yeah, you have to kind of flesh them out and make them something you maybe didn't intend. So.
Now, Harry Dennison actually drowns, right?
No. His friend does.
His friend drowns. Okay.
Yes.
So, how is that ironic that he's a firefighter and yet his friend drowns? You know,
well, they're part of the dive team. So, I mean, firefighters, we do multiple things. So, I was a diver myself for 17 years. Just one of the technical aspects of our job, and it was also something that we had happen here on the job when I first came on. So once again, I applied a little bit of something that happened to me into the book. And I was more fascinated with how people would react. And then you kind of think about it, and the characters I wrote about actually went through this. So I kind of looked at them, and you kind of paint a picture of a guy or a person and make them out to be something, but you don't realize that they had to deal with something on a day-to-day basis and how tough that might have been.
Right. You know, when you meet people and you realize everyone has a story, there's more to them that goes into their personality and makes them who they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, this isn't your first book. You've written other books. Can you tell us about your other ones?
Well, this was the first published, technically. I had a book before. It was a military one about a guy dealing with the loss of his son. So I can't give away too much. I'll give you the whole book. But this is the only one published right now. I kind of have the other ones in storage. I mean, the process to take a book from having written it to publishing it is almost equally as tough as writing the book. So, another firefighter book. I did a kid's book, and I'm finishing up a book about, which I kind of find fascinating about an uncle of mine that is just unique, and some of the interesting travels he might have in the book I wrote. So kind of a fun one.
Oh, great. And tell us about the kids' book.
Well, it was based on a friend of mine who was a former military guy himself in Vietnam that lost one of his best friends. And it inspired me to write. I don't know why I turned that into a kid's book, but I thought of the aspect of an older gentleman kind of taking a young kid under his wing. The kid himself is inspired from a friend I had that was killed in Iraq. And I just kind of thought about what his son might have grown up and what it might have been like for him. And so I kind of put the two characters together at just an intersection in their lives. He's being picked on at school, and he's a mentor, and this guy's able to help out. So I like the story. As far as a kid's book, it's a challenge to write one because, I don't know, maybe I need to talk to more children's authors, but I mean, you want to keep it at their level. But, my daughters are teenagers, so I try to talk to them like adults with a little bit less. I don't know. It's a weird line to walk.
Yeah, especially if you've been writing for adults. Change them.
Yes, to transition from one to the other. So.
How can we get a hold of your book?
You can go to Catching the Run. Hold on a second. Hey, can you take that for me? Thanks. Boyle Publishing. Go to her website is one way to do it. You can find it on Amazon.com. My publisher is going to kill me for this, but Boyle Publishing is the name of the website that my publisher, and you can find my book and other books there. But look for it on Amazon.com or just type it in. It'll pop up on a search. So pretty easy.
Okay, great. And the name of the book is Harry Dennison, and it's
Yes.
about a firefighter and what he goes through, and it's very spiritual as well. So we wish you a lot of luck with the book. The book is great, and this is the cover. If you guys see it, and you can go to Amazon and buy the book, Harry Dennison, and the author is Steve Kemp. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I got to actually take that run. So.
Okay, well, duty calls for Steve. He's going to go. He's at work. It's probably some fire, and he's going to go save someone. And so we're going to let him go. His book is Harry Dennison, and you can get it on Amazon. Steve Kemp is the author, and it's a great read, so I hope you pick it up. Join us next time at 6 o'clock when we have another great guest for you on the Lori Boyle Show. Thanks for watching.